Hello, everyone. Welcome again to Elevating Your Life. Paula Vail here, and just so happy to share another amazing guest with all of you. I'm just so honored and grateful every week for the discoveries, the information, and the inspiration that we can receive together. Today, I am thrilled to share Stacy Lee. She is the author of multiple Amazon best-selling books that make up the Nubble Light series, The 100th Time Around, Future Plans, Never in a Million, and 10% of My Heart. The fourth installment, 10% of My Heart, was just released in August. She's a lifelong resident of New England, where the books take place. Stacy enjoys spending time in the beautiful and historic town of York Beach, Maine, with her family. The Nubble Lighthouse holds a special place in her heart and inspired the setting for her historical fiction series. This is just so fun, and this is so awesome what you've written, Stacy. First up, I want to say welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So happy to have you here. Well, I would love it if you'd like to share a little more of your background and, what triggered you to write and create this fun series that you did.
Yeah, so I always wanted to be a writer. Even when I was little, that's sort of what I wanted to do. I ended up going into education. So I was a teacher for 15 years out of college. I taught third, fourth, and fifth grade. I really enjoyed teaching writing to the kids. There was 2 years that I only taught writing, reading, and social studies. And that was incredible. I worked at my church for a little while, and I worked for my father, who's an attorney. I was his event planner. And then now I write full time.
Oh, that
I
is
have
so
um, I have a husband and 2 kids and 2 rescue dogs.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
it. Oh, I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. There's nothing like the love and the gratitude of. I have 3 rescue dogs, 2 from Mexico,
Oh, wow.
and they're so awesome. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. Well, how fun. Well, let's share a bit of the theme and kind of what the readers can look for when they order your books. Tell us a bit about that.
Right. So the Nubble Light series consists of the 4 books so far, with a 5th on the way. And each book stands alone, but the characters from the previous books pop in to the other books. So the characters are all connected. You don't have to read the first 3 in order, but I recommend it. And then by the time you get to the 4th book, they're all there. So it's really neat. It toggles between different time periods, so like present day, the 40s, the 50s, the 70s, the 60s. And it is romance fiction, but each book has its own separate subgenre. So historical fiction, mystery, romance suspense, romantic comedy. There's really it's kind of neat. There's something for everybody. I have readers who are 16 and I have readers who are 80, and my readers really enjoy the books. So it's fun. I'm having a lot of fun doing it.
Oh, I bet. And it really, each book, it takes us on, these emotional journeys
Yes.
and adventures and fun. Gosh, when you were writing those, did you involve anything personal or people or events, or was it just totally something you kind of came up with?
Great question. So my first 2 books, I feel like they took the longest to write just because I hadn't really built that momentum yet. And I think I did sort of lean on some past experiences, the whole thinking that writers write what we know, that sort of mentality. But once I really got rolling with that, it's just, it's 100% fiction. Just I would start to think like, what if this happened, and what if that happened, and I might use a person or an experience as inspiration, but my characters are, fiction. But so in my 3rd book, Never in a Billion, there's a boy who lives in a retirement facility with his grandfather during the summer, and that's how my husband grew up. He grew up actually spending the summers with his Italian grandfather and all of his friends, and that, I really believe, kind of molded him into who he is. Like, he's an old soul. So there's things like that where there's inspiration, and then I just sort of go and run with it, and it's fun. It's make believe, right?
Yeah, and that is so fun to bring into that something that is just so true and happens with all of us. It's, who, as we're growing up, who we're involved with, who we're around, and, and how it can influence us and create, the pieces of our personality. There can be so much fun in that.
Yes, it is so much fun. I mean, when I was little, I used to just play dolls in my room for hours, and it's the same thing. Only people read it.
So I can imagine that you've had so much fun creating the different things. So as you're writing these and you have these little adventures and these emotional things people are going through, do you kind of think about that and kind of live that a little bit? Okay, how would that make me feel? And where would I go from there? And
Yeah.
what I'll put down.
Absolutely. So when I was writing the fourth book, I got to a part where, I don't want to give anything away, but my protagonist needs to make a decision between two men. And I mean, I really, it consumed me. I just needed her to make the best decision for herself. It might not be the decision that I would make, but I talked it over with friends, my family, like a therapist. I was like, I just wanted to make sure that this was the right move for Tessa, because my readers trust me. There's sort of like a happily ever after, like kind of warm Hallmark feel to my stories, and they trust me to not, leave them in a bad place. So I wanted to do her relationship justice, but I also didn't want to be sort of cliche or, too warm and fuzzy, because it was a real situation that this character was in, and I've gotten good feedback from it. So that feels good, because I was a little nervous. I don't want to give anything away.
Yeah. And I bet the readers that have been able to experience these books so far are just, okay, what's next? What's next? Bring it on. I can't wait.
So they're quick reads. They've been referred to as novel lights. I thought that was interesting. But they're page turners with every book has a plot twist that so far nobody's been able to see coming, which is really, really fun. It's my favorite part, is surprising the readers. But I mean, my father-in-law's even read the books, and he doesn't read too much fiction, but they're quick, kind of lighthearted, easy reads with a lot going on in a short amount of pages. So people tend to really like them.
Yeah. And you bring a lot for people to just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to think about that. Or, oh my gosh, look at things differently. Like something that you've mentioned is like the power of second chances. Tell us your thoughts on second chances and how powerful they can be in our lives.
Right. So the first book I wrote, The 100th Time Around, it's based on two characters that meet in their 20s and then kind of separate, lose touch. It didn't end well. And then they're reunited again in their 40s. So she kind of writes him off at first, but then they both learn that, we're all human. Sometimes we don't get it right the first time. And that's where one of the reasons the 100th time around is in the title, because it's like a second or 100 chances.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that sometimes if we're closed off and we're not open to the possibility of giving somebody another try or a second chance, that we miss out on opportunities. And these characters would have.
So. Yeah. And something that simple can really be huge in our real lifetime.
Yes.
All being open to second chances and not giving up and just, having faith and looking forward and doing that second chance. That's a really beautiful concept to share.
Yeah, I think so. It's how it worked out for them is really nice. I'm happy with it. They're good.
Oh, and I can imagine when you're writing and then oh, this worked out, it went this way and that. I bet that just makes you feel so good as much as a reader.
It does. It's a lot of responsibility because I've created a world. Like I created a world of characters that range from, gosh, like 10, 11 years old up to 100 years old. And we see these characters during different time periods. So one character might be introduced as a man in his 80s, but then we really get to know him in his teenage years in another book. And it is a lot of responsibility because I want to make sure that I'm doing their story justice.
Yes, yes. And with the characters you've created, have you gotten kind of how should I say it, maybe attached to them? I like this character. I want them to continue on in the books. I want them to stay a part of it.
Absolutely.
The
biggest compliment I received so far is when people say to me, your characters feel like my friends.
Oh,
And that to me is better than any bestseller list or anything really. It's like, because they are so important to me, and to have other people feel that way, it's so neat. And they say, oh, I loved how I was reading and then I realized this character was in the chapter from your first book, and I felt like I ran into my old friend, and I was like, oh, that's amazing.
oh, that is so beautiful. Yes. That just, that tells you what a gift these books are for people and what an enjoyment they are. And that's 5 stars, Stacy.
I love being able to provide that escape for people. I'll have when my sister-in-law read the 4th book, I called her and she's like, what does she say? She goes, "You're killing me, Smalls." She's like, "I haven't made dinner. I had someone else pick up my kid. Like, I can't put this book down. I'm so mad at you." And I was like, "Good, read."
Good. Yeah, that's the best. Yes, so
It's like, I'm
intrigued.
crying, I'm laughing, I'm happy, and all
Yes.
the things. I'm like, good.
And with jumping in and getting involved in the beautiful journeys that you have in your books, it kind of gives us a reprieve of, all the clutter around us in our lives and that. And it's just like, jump into this and enjoy it and learn a little bit or feel a little bit. I mean, it's huge what that can offer.
Yeah, and I'm a reader, and I appreciate, a serious novel from time to time that, really digs into serious issues, right? But I feel like it's a way to just escape for a little while. And it's done in such a way that you feel good when you're done reading them.
Yes, yes. And something very exciting, I understand you're working with a movie producer on a project to possibly create a television series on these books. Tell us about that. That would be so cool.
It would be amazing. Yeah. So I've written the screenplay for the 100th time around. So I'm working on that. I've worked with a company called Bookscribs, and they help authors adapt their books into movies. And in working with them, I had an opportunity to pitch my book ideas to a television producer, which was a lot of things, but wonderful. It was great. And we like the idea of taking the first 5 book ideas and trying to turn that into a TV series of some sort. But we have the screenplay for the 100th time around, which has also gotten some attention out in LA, it's really mind blowing.
Oh, That is so exciting. That is so exciting. So if it becomes a television series, do you think 100th Time Around might be the name of the series? Or have you, I don't want you to spill what you can't spill.
I know. Well, I don't want to give too
Exciting.
much away, but
Yes.
actually, so one of the main characters in the 100th Time Around, Sean Anderson, I think it would probably be from his point of view for the most part, because he's a writer in the first book. And then by the fourth book, he's written books, and those books are my books. So he's the writer of the books in the stories. And by the fourth book, he has a podcast for writers. And by the fifth book, they're turning the books into a movie.
Oh, I love it.
So I can see it sort of like a This Is Us kind of, with the flashbacks and seeing the characters from all different ages. So it's a ton of fun. It really is.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, here it is in the book series, and then here it is out there in the world is, a TV series, and just
Yes.
expanding.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's really, it's like a dream come true,
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
good.
That is so exciting. And would you say, with what you do with these books, it's been felt good for you to do so much for others, seeing their enjoyment and their connection, and how, just like second chances, just like following our dreams, all those things are enhanced to others through you in your words. What does that feel like, Stacy?
It's really, it feels very, almost too good to be true in a way, because I like helping other people. I'm kind of like an empath, And there's a woman I met in the locker room at the gym, and I gave her my books, and every time she sees me, she's just like, "You don't understand. Like, what a good escape that was." And it feels so good. It really does. I mean, it does feel good because it's kind of a compliment, right?
Yeah.
But more so just to know that, like, in all of the chaos, I'm able to help people just take a break.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I've always called it a server's heart. When we
Yes,
help
I
others,
like that better.
I have a server's heart.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, it just does so much for others and ourselves, and just, it makes us a positive energy in the world. This is really exciting. And I'm thinking after number 5, it's not going to stop. This sounds like the train is rolling, Stacy.
Yeah, it really is. Thank you. And it's funny because I know how I want the 5th book to play out. And by the time I get to the 6th, if that's what I choose to do, some of the younger characters from the 2nd book are old enough to have relationships too. So I can see it as sort of a generational
Wow.
romance in that way too. So there's so much I can do with it, it's really the best part, is being able to really spend some time thinking about how I want the story to go, and then being the one that can tell it.
You are just absolutely so creative. That is just
Yeah.
what a beautiful gift, Stacy, to be so creative. Oh my gosh. So do you like going through your day, you might think of a little something,
Oh yeah.
that would be really great to put in a book. Do
Yes.
things come to you like that?
That's exactly what happens. Like, yesterday I was at a drive-through and it was my turn, and I'm like, I can't pull up right now because I'm like in my notes, like I have to finish the sentence, and it was all spelled wrong, but I knew what it meant later. Because it's so, I mean, I'm busy, like, right? Like, I'm a mom, and there's a lot going on. So sometimes these thoughts, if you don't write them down, they're gone.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Usually when I'm driving.
That's totally how it was when I wrote my book, Why Am I So Happy? I would be just, oh, I need to talk about that. Oh, I got to pull over and write that down.
Yeah. When I was writing the 2nd book, I was actually in the shower and it hit me, like getting hit in the head, just like, this is what needs to happen. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was like watching a show and seeing it unfold. And I was like, nope, I have to change this. I have to change that. This is how it's ending. And I shocked myself. I was like, okay. Yeah.
Oh, Stacy, that is just so fun. That is just so cool. And that makes your books just so, so unique.
Thank
Because
you.
it is just things that come to you that you've created and you've put in there. And that makes it exciting for us as readers because it's like, what is she going to write next?
Yeah,
Can't
that
wait.
seems to be the feedback. So I'll take it.
Yeah, yeah. What triggered you in that first moment when you said, okay, I've wanted to be a writer, I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna start now? What kind of triggered you to take that first step?
So it was actually when everything was shut down due to COVID. And it was kind of like a really chaotic time because the kids were in distance learning and everybody was at home. We were putting an addition on the house for my parents and they were living with us. So it was probably the most inopportune time to try and start a project like that. But that's when I really dug in. I had been writing the story for a while prior to that, but I never really had the opportunity to sit down and really just bang it out until we had nothing else to do.
Mm.
Uh, and then my mother-in-law, at the time, she had been diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer a couple of years prior, and she lived much longer than we expected her to. But during the COVID shutdown, she wanted to take one more trip. And York, Maine had a cottage available, and she always liked the Nubble Lighthouse, and I had never been. And so we went together, all of our families, to York and to visit the Nubble Lighthouse. And she got us canvas. Each of us had a piece of canvas and paint. And she's like, "We're gonna paint the Nubble Lighthouse." And I was like,
Oh,
"I don't paint." I was like, "I don't want to do it." And she's like, "You can do it." So just like staring at the lighthouse for that long, like the story that I had started to write about another beach, I was like, oh gosh, like no, like this is where the story needs to take place. So I went back and I rewrote everything I had written to make it York. And from then I just fell in love with the town and I spend so much time there now, just visiting with friends that I've made throughout this process. There's a waitress at a restaurant who gave me this gigantic book. It's like this thick on history of the town, and she's the
oh,
sweetest. And everybody's just so happy to share the town's history. And it's really been a life-changing experience.
oh.
And it was a wonderful vacation. And I dedicated my first book to her.
That is so awesome. Oh, that is so beautiful. And I just, thank you for writing these books. They're
Oh gosh, thank
really
you.
a gift for everyone, Stacy. Everybody's got to check them out. You're going to get hooked. Well, Stacy, before we go, please tell everyone how they can learn more about you and get a copy of your book and anything you want to share.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so I have a website. It's stacyleeauthor.com, and I spell my name Stacylee. So stacyleeauthor.com, and there are links to the books on that site, but they're also on Amazon. If you type in The 100th Time Around as the first book or the Nubble Light series, I'll come up. And they're also on Barnes and Noble, all the major platforms. The audiobooks are on Audible and iTunes for the first 3. If you're more of an audiobook person, but we have ebook, hardcover, audio, paperback for all 4 books.
That is so awesome. That is so awesome. Before we say goodbye, is there anything you want to share? Just a thought or some words with everyone you'd like them to think about today or leave them with?
Yeah, I mean, I've done this now. It's 4 books in just under 2 years. And, I did it with kids. And, at the time I had another job, but all the responsibilities. And I guess I would just encourage people, if there's something like that you want to do, Just if you manage your time enough and like learn how to ask for help and realize that like other things can give, I would encourage you to do it, because this has been a dream come true, and all I had to do was write it. It was up here, but I had to get it out. And the best advice I got was write the book like people aren't going to read it, because then I got out of my own way. So I would encourage people to
Oh,
take that
cool.
step if there's a step
Yeah,
they're wanting to take.
yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that. Just don't worry about, if anybody's going to read it, just write it. Just be you and write it.
Yes.
Oh, that's a beautiful message. I love that.
Thank you.
And it's so great, isn't it, Stacy, and exciting to realize that we can have a passion or a dream that we have, stepped towards our whole life. But at any time we can take that step. It's never too late. The doors are always
Exactly.
open, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's definitely something that I've learned throughout all of this.
Yeah. Well, I am really excited for that 5th book. I'm really excited for the TV series. That would be so fun. And oh my gosh, it's just going to go on. It's a ripple effect.
Yeah, I hope so. So far, so good.
Oh, that's so exciting. Oh, Stacy, it's been such a pleasure to meet you and chat with you today. I'm really honored to have you on the show.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Oh,
It's really nice to meet you too.
oh, thank you. Everybody out there, thank you for joining us. Have an absolutely fantastic day. And the shows are just going to continue for you every week. I can't believe I've been interviewing over 7 years now, and I'm really grateful. So thank you to everyone for joining us in video, in audio. Love, hugs, and blessings. Stacy, love, hugs, and blessings. And we look forward to all the new that you're creating as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.